In the small town of Mill Creek, nestled in the heart of America, stood an old, abandoned mill. It had been there for over a century, its once bustling machinery long silenced. Locals spoke in hushed tones about the mill, claiming it was haunted by the spirit of a worker who had died tragically during a terrible accident. Curiosity about the mill's dark past intrigued many, but fear kept most people away. Only the bravest, or the foolish, dared to venture inside. One crisp autumn evening, a group of 5 friends decided to test their courage. Emily, the adventurous one, suggested they explore the old mill. Her friends, Jake, Sarah, Tom, and Lily, hesitated but eventually agreed. They wanted to prove they weren't afraid of any ghost stories. "Let's meet at the mill at midnight," Emily proposed, a mischievous glint in her eye. The others exchanged nervous glances, but nodded in agreement. As the clock struck midnight, the friends arrived at the mill, flashlights in hand, hearts racing with a mix of excitement and dread. The moon cast an eerie glow over the dilapidated structure, its windows dark and empty, like the eyes of a long-forgotten soul. As they stepped inside, the air turned cold, and a sense of unease settled over them. Dust motes danced in the flashlight beams as they explored the decaying rooms, remnants of machinery, covered in layers of rust and grime. The old wooden floor creaked under their feet, echoing in the silence. "Did you hear that?" Tom whispered, stopping suddenly. The others froze, straining their ears. A faint sound, like a low moan, echoed through the hall. "Probably just the wind," Jake dismissed, but his voice trembled slightly. They pressed on, making their way to the main room where the machinery once thrummed with life. The moonlight streamed through shattered windows, casting ghostly shadows on the walls. As they reached the center of the room, Emily spotted a rusty lever. "Look at this," she exclaimed, pulling the lever down. Suddenly, a loud clang resonated through the mill, making them all jump. "What did you do?" Lily asked, her eyes wide with fear. "I don't know," Emily replied, her excitement fading into nervousness. Suddenly, a chilling breeze swept through the room, extinguishing their flashlights. Panic set in as they fumbled in the darkness, their hearts pounding. "Let's get out of here," Sarah shouted, her voice shaking. As they rushed toward the exit, the sound of footsteps echoed behind them. They turned to see a shadowy figure standing at the far end of the room, its features indistinguishable. "Who's there?" Jake called out, trying to sound brave. But his voice cracked, betraying his fear. The figure vanished as quickly as it appeared, leaving them frozen in place. "Did you see that?" Tom gasped, backing away slowly. "Let's go," Emily urged, grabbing Lily's hand and bolting for the door. The others quickly followed, adrenaline fueling their escape. Once outside, they stumbled onto the overgrown path leading away from the mill, gasping for breath. They huddled together, trying to make sense of what had just happened. "What was that?" Lily asked, trembling. "It must have been a trick of the light," Jake suggested, but even he wasn't convinced. Determined to uncover the truth, they returned the next day to gather information about the mill. They visited the town library, searching for old newspapers and records. After hours of digging, they discovered a chilling story. In the late 1800s, a worker named William had been trapped in the machinery during a terrible accident. His screams echoed through the mill, but no one could save him in time. They learned that William's spirit was said to linger, restless and angry, seeking revenge on those who dared to disturb his resting place. The friends decided they had to confront William's spirit. That night, armed with candles and a plan, they returned to the mill. They gathered in the main room, determined to communicate with the ghost. "William, we mean you no harm," Emily said, her voice steady, despite her racing heart. "We just want to understand what happened to you." For a moment, there was only silence. Then, the temperature dropped, and the faint sound of a voice filled the air, whispering unintelligibly. The candles flickered violently, casting wild shadows on the walls. "Please, show us you're here," Tom urged, his voice trembling. Suddenly, the machinery rattled to life, the gears grinding and groaning as if awakening from a long slumber. The friends jumped back, their hearts racing. A figure appeared before them, translucent and sorrowful. It was William, his eyes filled with anguish. "Help me," he whispered, his voice echoing in their minds. "I'm trapped." Realizing the spirit was not malevolent but in pain, Emily stepped forward. "We will help you find peace, William. You don't have to be angry anymore." As she spoke, the air shifted, and the flickering candles steadied. The ghostly figure began to dissolve, a look of gratitude washing over his face. "Thank you," he breathed, before vanishing into the shadows. The mill fell silent once more. The friends stood in awe, the weight of their fear lifting. They had faced their fears and helped a lost soul find peace. "Help me," he whispered, his voice echoing in their minds. "I'm trapped." Realizing the spirit was not malevolent but in pain, Emily stepped forward. "We will help you find peace, William. You don't have to be angry anymore." As she spoke, the air shifted, and the flickering candles steadied. The ghostly figure began to dissolve, a look of gratitude washing over his face. "Thank you," he breathed, before vanishing into the shadows. The mill fell silent once more. The friends stood in awe, the weight of their fear lifting. They had faced their fears and helped a lost soul find peace.